Let me talk about hybrid and partnership publishing contracts. Before we begin, a quick note. This is general publishing guidance, not legal advice. A contract is a legal document. Before you sign anything, have an attorney review it, especially any clause you don't fully understand. The publishing environment can also change over time, so treat everything here as a framework, not a fixed rulebook. If you're a writer weighing a publishing offer right now, this video is for you. Hybrid and partnership publishing sit in a genuinely useful part of the industry, but they also attract more predatory operators than any other publishing lane. The reason is simple. Both models ask the author to pay before the book even exists. And that's exactly the moment a writer is least equipped to evaluate a contract clearly. So let's slow down and look at what really matters once money is on the table. First, the core distinction. A hybrid press takes your money and shares the resulting royalties with you. It positions itself as a genuine co-investor in your book. A partnership press, sometimes called an assisted press, takes your money in exchange for services rendered, full stop. And it should let you keep everything the book earns afterward because you already paid for the labor. Here's the key test. That distinction should show up explicitly in the royalty clause of any contract you're handed. If a press calls itself a partnership or assisted model, but is still taking a royalty percentage after you've paid for production, the contract doesn't match the label. That mismatch is worth raising directly with them before you go any further. Now let's talk about how to actually read a contract. You don't need to understand every clause the way a lawyer does, but you should ask the same 4 questions of every single section, and flag anything where the answer is unclear or unfavorable. Question 1. What am I actually getting in specific, countable terms? A vague bundle like a full-service marketing package is not an answer. A list of deliverables with a timeline attached is. Question 2. What am I giving up and for how long? Every grant of rights, every fee, every exclusivity clause costs you something. Name it specifically before deciding whether it's worth it. Question 3. What happens if this relationship goes badly? If you're short on time, read the termination section before you read anything else. A contract that's vague or silent about how you leave is telling you something about how hard leaving will be. Question 4. Could I explain this clause to another writer in one sentence, in plain language? If you can't, either the clause is genuinely complex enough to need a lawyer's eyes, or it's written to be hard to parse. Either way, don't move forward on a guess. Keep those 4 questions in mind, because they apply to everything that follows. Let's start with money going in, what you're actually paying for. First, itemized fees versus bundled packages. A fair contract lists exactly what you're paying for and what each piece costs. A vague bundle, a premium package, a full-service tier, with no line item breakdown, makes it impossible to know whether you're paying a fair price for any individual service. Ask for the itemized version before signing a bundle. Second, required author copy purchases. Some contracts require you to buy a set number of copies of your own book, sometimes 50 or more, as a condition of the deal. This is a hallmark of a vanity press arrangement dressed up in hybrid or partnership language. A legitimate press may offer discounted author copies. It should never require them. Third, recurring fees. Annual fees, renewal fees, distribution fees, file maintenance fees, platform fees. These are easy to bury in fine print and easy to underestimate in total, since they recur every year the book stays listed. Ask for a full list of every fee that could ever apply, not just the ones charged at signing. Fourth, marked up add-on services. Editing, cover design, interior layout, and proofreading all cost real money from a qualified freelancer. A press charging a comparable market rate for those services isn't doing anything wrong, but a press charging well above what an independent freelancer would charge for the same work is turning a service into a profit center. Compare their quoted price against a freelance market rate before agreeing. Now let's flip it around to money going out, how you actually get paid. Start with royalty clarity. You should be able to calculate your own royalty on a given sale without needing a spreadsheet and a phone call to customer service. If the math requires guesswork, the contract isn't transparent enough to sign. Next, payment timing. The contract should state plainly how often you're paid and by what method. It should not leave the timing to the publisher's discretion. Then, audit rights. A fair contract gives you the right to request an audit of your sales and royalty accounting, typically once a year, if you suspect an error. Most authors never use this clause, but its absence from a contract is itself worth noticing, because it signals the publisher isn't willing to be checked. Now we come to the most important section of all, rights. This is the part of a hybrid or partnership contract most likely to cost you something you don't notice until years later. Let's start with the grant of rights and its duration. Some contracts claim rights for the full duration of copyright. Under current U.S. law, that runs for the author's lifetime plus 70 years. That is effectively forever. A fair contract states a defined term, several years, or ties the grant to specific triggers for reversion, rather than locking it up indefinitely. That brings us to reversion clauses. This is the mechanism that gets your rights back. A contract without one is a contract you can't meaningfully exit, even if you want to. Look for 3 kinds of reversion language specifically. First, a sales threshold reversion. Rights return to you if the book sells below a set number of copies in a given period. Second, an out-of-print reversion. Rights return if the publisher stops actively selling the book and doesn't reprint within a set window. And third, in hybrid contracts specifically, a right to terminate at will. Since you're the one funding the book, you should be able to end the relationship on your own schedule, not only when the publisher agrees to let you. Next, watch out for subsidiary rights. Film, audio, foreign translation, and merchandising rights are frequently bundled into the same contract as the print rights. Sometimes the author doesn't fully register that they've signed those away too. If a publisher retains subsidiary rights, your share of anything they license should be substantially higher than your base book royalty, because you're giving up the ability to sell those rights yourself. And if the publisher has no actual capacity to sell foreign or film rights, retaining those rights yourself is usually worth more than any split they'd offer. Finally, in this section, production files. You should own the final cover files, the interior layout files, and the edited manuscript once the process is complete. A publisher that retains those files and won't hand them over is building in a reason for you to stay, whether you want to or not. Which leads us to the last piece, getting out. You want a clean termination clause. You should be able to leave without penalty beyond what's already been paid, and without the publisher holding your book, your files, or your rights hostage as leverage. So let's bring this all together. Hybrid and partnership publishing can be a real, legitimate path. But the burden is on you to read carefully, because you're paying up front. Confirm which model you're actually in by reading the royalty clause. Ask the 4 questions of every section. Watch the fees going in, and demand clarity on the money coming out. And above all, protect your rights, your reversion terms, and your ability to walk away. A good contract will let you understand it, exit it, and keep what you paid for. If a contract fights you on any of those, that's your answer.